today we are going to make mozzarella cheese, homemade mozzarella. We have all these tomatoes coming on in the greenhouse now, and what better way to use them than a caprese salad with some homemade mozzarella. So what you will need: citric acid, rennet. Both of these can be found at the co-op. We found the rennet in the beer making supplies, I believe. And a gallon of milk.
Whole milk.
Whole milk, yes. And there you have what you need. So, to start with, we're going to put a 1/4 teaspoon of rennet in a 1/4 cup of water. This is liquid rennet. It also comes in a powder, and it's the same amount. And then we've got a 1.5 teaspoons of citric acid. And you know, usually I'm pretty lax about my measurements, but for this project I like to kind of keep it pretty exact. You never know, through the magic of science, what could happen.
Or not happen.
Yeah. So there we go. And now, oh, the other thing you're going to need is a thermometer.
And you have distilled water there?
This is distilled water. We're going to take our citric acid, and this is 1 cup of water, and we're going to stir this together. And then we're going to put this in a pan with our gallon of milk, and we're going to heat it up to 90 degrees. So here we go in the pan with this. And it looks like there's some of that left in the measuring cup, so I will just get it with some milk. And then you want to pour this in quick enough that it'll mix with the citric acid. And then we will heat this up to 90 degrees, at which time we will come back and add our rennet. Okay, our milk has come up to 100 degrees. It should be between 90 and 100. If you're not seeing this thickening, increase the heat a little bit. Now we're going to add our rennet slowly while stirring. And then we're going to keep stirring for about 30 seconds. And then we're going to let this sit for about 5 minutes. And if we don't see what we want after 5 minutes, we'll leave it longer. And it can be up to 30 minutes. You can see this thickening already. Look at that. We're getting what we want here. This looks like it's going to be really good after. Okay, so there's our 30 seconds of stirring. Now we're just going to cover it and let it sit for 5 minutes. And what we should see is the whey is all clear and the curds are looking fairly solid. So this has been sitting here for the requisite 5 minutes, and you can see that the whey is clear and the curds are looking pretty solid. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cut this curd into like approximately 1-inch squares. As you can see, this is a difficult process. It doesn't stay put. If it would stay put, I could cut it into any size you want. But we do want this to get into smaller pieces. Okay, so now that we have our curds cut, we're going to bring this back up to 110 degrees. So I don't know how much, we're very close to there. And then we're going to strain this into a colander. Okay, I think we're actually looking quite good here. So we're going to go to our colander, and we have a bowl underneath it to catch the whey, and we are going to use a slotted device to get this out of here. Looks kind of like cottage cheese, which may be where the name cottage cheese came from, because you can make it in your own cottage. So we're going to catch any whey that I bring along with the cheese. And the other thing we did that I forgot to mention is we have a pot of water on the stove that's been heated to 175 degrees, which we are going to use for the next step.
Looks like cauliflower in the video.
It's tricky to get it all, but I don't really want to leave any behind. And then I'm just going to work this a little bit to get some more of the whey out of it. You can squeeze it, you could fold it over on itself. It shouldn't feel like the finished product yet, because we have more work to do and we need to heat it up again. But the more of the whey you get out at this point, the firmer your finished product will be. And I'm still squeezing quite a bit out of it each time here, so. Okay. Then we are going to pour this whey back, and we're going to set this down in here, keep it warm as we go about our next step. All right, so to our cheese, we are going to add a half a teaspoon of salt, and the salt's going to get mixed in the next steps, so I'm just going to sprinkle it over this. And then we are going to take our hot water, which is 175 degrees, and this is not really something you want to leave your hands in a lot. So this is this is kind of the tricky part of this whole process. And we're going to pull off a piece of our cheese. Let's see what we can get here. So when this heats up again, it becomes workable. So I had my slotted spoon. I'm going to put this in the hot water in the slotted spoon just to try and spare my hand a little bit. We'll let this heat up. Oh yeah. And then we need to stretch it. And it seems like it's not going to stretch for a while. And you can, if it gets too cool, you can heat it back up. Right now it's not really doing anything, but it will. Experience tells me that if you do this, and you keep doing it, you will eventually get a cheese that stretches. Stretch it and fold it over. And I'm getting too cool now, so I'm going back in the water. Stretch it, fold it over. And just doing this process, you start to get something that looks very much like mozzarella cheese. Ooh, that's hot.
Yeah, you might want to scoop it out with a spoon and not your fingers.
But you can see this is coming together. You no longer have little cottage cheese crumbles coming off.
It's like a good way to do some stress relief.
Yeah. So,
Like a stress ball.
mm-hmm. And there, I've made my first little ball of mozzarella.
See?
Ta-da! So we repeat the process with another wonk of cheese out of here. And we'll continue until we've gone all the way through this. And I do have more water to add to this bowl if this water cools down too much. All right, so here is our mozzarella. And I must say that no spiders were harmed in the making of this video and no little girls were scared off. So,
That's kind of...
to store this, you have to get the reference, that's all.
I know.
To store this, we're going to take some cold water, a quart of cold water, 2 tablespoons of salt, and 2 tablespoons of our whey. Maybe 3. And we're going to pour this over and then keep this in the fridge. And the proportions are just for a quart of water. I mean, if we don't use it all, we're fine. I see that we didn't get actually get the salt. So there we go. And there you have fresh homemade mozzarella. Thank you for watching Two Cooks in the Kitchen, and we'll see you next time.